from Lorenzo Carter. This on offense. Now turning back now. I think the focus is a lot of the talk's going to be about how to stop Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, and I think it should be. This offensive line is not up to standard. Chris Lindstrom is going to have a bounce back game as far as technically. He's not going to get 2 holding penalties again, but Kenny Clark and that matchup is something that you like. You certainly like Devontae Wyatt against Matthew Bergeron and Damian Drew on the other side. TJ Slayton against Damian Drew in the middle, and you have to love. If Rashawn Gary can get 15 or 20 snaps this week, he's going to have 2 sacks. He's going to have a handful of pressures if he plays against Caleb McGarry, unless they give him a lot of help, which they ended up doing in the second half. But they get beat a lot. They're going to line up in a ton of 12. They might even call it 13. Kyle Pitts really isn't. Kyle Pitts is a mercurial talent, but he's not a tight end. If he puts his hand in the ground, it's to run a route. If he gets in the slot, it's to run a route. He cannot block. He does not want to block. He's not good at blocking. He is an incredible talent. But they're going to line up at 12, 21 personnel. They play with a lot of fullback action, and they're going to try to establish the run. And they did some good things in the run game. They have some guys on that team, the right tackle, the right guard. They can run block. Okay, they brought in from New England. They brought in Jonnu Smith this season, and he's a very, very talented player. You put him with John Fitzpatrick, Macaulay Pruitt, and then obviously Kyle Pitts. Like, they have a good tight end room. They use those guys to the full extent. And then obviously they'll bring in Keith Smith, who played for the San Francisco 49ers. So just is one of those use check taught fullbacks. Okay. But this is them in a nutshell. Like, when you watch the game last week, it's kind of like, if you're going to drop back, you go into 12 or 13 personnel, drop back. First of all, this is the first play of the game. And he's throwing this in cut. Both these guys are covered. When he's going to let this ball go right here, that's a pick. He's throwing an interception on the first play. Okay, my point to you is, if you just play sound defense, the way that they structure some of their stuff, the ball's going to end up in your lap. Okay, just some of their passing game stuff is very, very condensed. And maybe it's because they want Ritter to throw over the middle. I don't know. But it's very condensed, and there's very, very small windows. And it's just like, just do your job here. You don't have to do anything special. This ball ends up getting batted up. I think he catches it instead of just batting it down and takes a loss. Okay. Again, you see 85 and 81, Pruitt and Jonnu Smith in the game. This is not 13 personnel. Kyle Pitts is out in the slot here. We're going to match this however we match 12. Now, if we decide to match 12 in nickel, which the Carolina Panthers were happy to do for a large part of the game, right? Because even at a nickel, if you feel like you can win your 1v1 matchups and you can put those guys in situations on the edge where their tight ends aren't going to be able to block our defensive ends, they're just not good enough, then I think you have a real opportunity to figure out how to deal with the Kyle Pitts issue, because even though he's not a true tight end, he's really just a slot receiver. He is a special athlete. See this? I mean, this is the kind of stuff he's capable of. Double covered, comes underneath and makes the play. The guy's just special. And they're going to try to find ways to get him, because he didn't touch that guy. That dude just fell down. I mean, he's got that kind of speed, threatening presence, size. Like, that's a lot of man running right at you. And to be able to move like that, put some people in bad positions. Now, the reason the ball doesn't go to him, Ho, is what we're probably excited about as Packers fans. The reason is Brian Burns absolutely demolished the team in the first half until they threw reinforcements at him. And Brian Burns is one of my favorite players, right? I thought when Brian Burns and Hassan Reddick were together, maybe, arguably the best 1-2 tandem in the league, at least certainly in the conversation. Rashawn Gary's every bit as good as Brian Burns. Now, he's not going to get many snaps, but you just see the way that number 76 McGarry sets. We talk about it all the time. You set like that, you're setting to lose. You're sitting with your chest to the sideline after 2 kicks. You are giving up. That's a slow death. And with the way that Rashawn Gary rushes, with the way that Lucas Van Ness rushes, with the way that Bari rushes, any of our guys, long arm stab, open him up, right? Rip through. You can 2-arm press. Desmond Ritter is going to feel pressure, right? And if they throw quick game, well, then we sit on quick game. But I'm just telling the audience, if you sit here and think that they can hold up against our pass rush over the long term, I just think that's going to be a really tough ask. You got a sack fumble here. A couple plays later, they try to run a quick toss. Now, I know we didn't like the quick toss with A.J. Dillon either, but, this is poor footwork by McGarry. This is a tough ask. I'm not saying this is an easy block, but this is poor footwork. He doesn't have a great, body position in his stance, so he gives up the hit. Now we look at inside with Derek Brown. He takes Lindstrom, who's one of the better guards in the league. He's a really good player. Had a tough game against this guy. I can't really tell why. But you also look at Burns here, who ends up getting the pressure and just absolutely manhandles McGarry because he sets back on his heels. He's trying to do something different. He's not comfortable with his body position. Body position footwork, that wins games for offensive linemen. These guys don't necessarily do a very good job. Derek Brown ends up getting the sack here. When we look at Jake Matthews, I talked about it earlier. He sets a bunch of different ways. He's not very confident in his set. I don't know if he reacts very well. Preston Smith, if he plays at a speed at the line of scrimmage, very, very sudden, plays with suddenness and doesn't just try to get upfield and turn into the bull, then I think he can have a lot of success against Jake. You see the bull here from Brian gets into the pocket. It's one of the few times that it took a long time to beat him. A lot of times it looked a little bit more like this. He cut out wide, right? Just goes inside, quick work. There's opportunities here. Even more, even faster, just swipe inside and win. And sometimes, like I said, if you get beat early, quarterback has time to make a decision. But there's a lot of plays when you look at the Atlanta Falcons last week. Like they won pretty big. I think it was 24-10. But there's opportunities to get to that quarterback, make it a problem. Here's the other side of it. These two guys are really good. Both these players are really good. And this offensive line led by Chris Lindstrom can run block, and they can do it pretty well. They're winning their 1v1s here. They're just running the old kick play that we talk about every week. Cornerback can't make the play on 25. You see Lindstrom here. You just see the speed and the technique that he runs with. I want to back this up because you just have this a little bit of an appreciation moment. He's got great footwork. Look at the first step, gains ground, or gains leverage, I should say. Squares the guy up, hands inside. It's a really, really good job downfield. And then you look at number 7, Bijan Robinson, and they'll put them both in the game at the same time because Bijan can do things like this. He's different. You take a running back in the first round, you want to see different. He's different. He can do some special stuff. So love of this misdirection play. This is something that they'll try to feature again with us, especially if we get into our base defense. You see it here, just a 3-4 look. You're going to push everybody down, and they just do a redirect. And now you got this kid in space, and you just look at the moves he's got. I mean, first guy ain't making the tackle, just not making the tackle. Now, one thing that helps, because everybody does this, and we talk about it all the time. If you watch, I'll just back it up so you can see the circle again. If you watch the tight ends, they will tell you a story, okay? If you watch where the tight ends are lined up pre-snap, they will tell you a story. They'll tell you a story for the defensive end, tell you a story if you're sitting at home watching TV. In this position, the only thing that the backside tight end can do is try to work a cutoff because he's too far, or he's too close, I should say, in this hipped off position to the tackle to go backside. He can't run split flow. He's too close to the tackle to run like a outside zone. There's no reason to put him off the line of scrimmage because now you're on different levels. So you can kind of start diagnosing plays just by where that tight end works. And because they play with the tight end fullback so often, and they'll even play with 2 tight ends in one case, they'll hip off one. There's a lot of stuff in here, and they have play action off of it. So I'm not saying this is like, finger painting, but it's pretty, it's like my friend Rich Moran says, make it crayon. When you watch that guy, it's kind of crayon. If you see it, it's pretty simple. There's only a handful of things they can do. Having said that, this kid can run. He can just run. So they go into they go 21 personnel. It's a true fullback. and you see Lindstrom here, and he's just got that speed. He's got that footwork. Now he squares up here, so Derek Brown actually gets back over the top and gets or underneath and gets a holding call. But you see what they're capable of as far as they feel very confident. I think, especially when you run to the right side. McGarry's a good run blocker. You know, generally speaking, if it's in line, if you're not going to move around, if you're not too wide, like if he doesn't have to really, take some really precision footwork to get out there. I think they feel good about both those first round picks from 2019 getting it out in front. But the name of the game is this number 7. How do we stop 25-7? You stop 25-7, this game is going to be a whole different ball of yarn.